After we understand how the CPU will work and coordinate the operation and the memory bus, so here we will really see how a program, or we can say an application, run from a computer. So when you want to run from a program, if we say we want to compile and run a CPP file, the first beginning, the operating system will control. They will search for the program's file name. So that file name, of course, including the file path. So the operating system retrieves basic information of the program's file from the disk directory, right? So because your file will reside in your hard drive. So those disk directory, including the file size and the physical location. After we got from the disk directory to find the location of the file, the operating system will determine the next available location in the memory. So you need to be careful. Sometimes we find the file, we're ready to run. But in order to run the file, we need to have the memory available. So operating system is control and do the coordinate for all the file or application run on the system. So when they see the next available location in the memory can be run, then they will load the file, the program file, into the memory. And you will enter the size and the location into a table. That's what we call the descriptor table. So the descriptor table, actually either in Windows or Mac, you can see that. I'm not sure you guys have the experience. Sometimes your program kind of hang there. You want to kill that process. So in Windows, you can have the Shift, Control, and Enter. Then they will show you those currently running program. That's the descriptor table. Operating system use this to keep tracking what the program are currently running. Of course, from there, you can kill a program or force to quit a program. So after you know where the memory will be run from your file, the operating system will begin execute the program from the first machine instruction. So that's what we call the entry point. Remember, your machine language, they do one by one, step the operation by operation. So those operations will be in the queue. So they will start execution from the first machine instruction, then assign that to the process ID. So continue, operating system keep tracking the execution of the process and response to the request of the system resource. Sometimes you may need to access the memory. Sometimes you need to access some file or other I/O device, including you may need to print something to the screen. Maybe you need to process the user input from the keyboard. So that's all actually is. Using the operating system is the interface between the hardware and the user. Once the process is end, they remove that from the memory. So we release the memory space. So that's how a program runs. To see the flow chart, you can see like this. Okay, user decide which program to run. But underneath, actually, we send the program name to the operating system. Operating system, before they run, they need to searching for where is the file location. So they go to the directory entry. Once you find the file, know the size, you will load and start. But before you start running the program, you need to see, right, we need to have specific memory can be able to run. So once you have the available memory, we run the program. After we finish, then we will return back to the operating system. So that's how your program is running. So that's the operating system. Basically is the interface between the user and the hardware. So since we talk about the hardware, right? So the next topic we want to talk about is the component for the Intel Instruction 32 microcomputer. So then actually here we will talk about the motherboard, the video output, memory, and input output port. But not only to that, here just the example from the textbook we have that. Even the example here we're using to show you actually pretty old. But I just want to using this video is an entry point to help you start know more about your hardware from your computer. And I know you guys know much more than that. So that will lead you to your lab exercise 3. I want everyone pick up your own computer, no matter you build up that or you purchase from the retail. You need to identify all the hardware and the software you have from your computer. In this video, we just give you few of that, but you have more hardware you will use to build up your computer. So the first thing we talk about the motherboard. Earlier we talked about CPU, but actually CPU resides on the motherboard. Other motherboard like a platform to include many important hardware. Of course, the first thing we need to have CPU. So here they call the CPU socket. Because CPU is, remember earlier we showed you one square. That small pieces is CPU. But that CPU need to stay on the motherboard to connect to other device. So that you have the CPU socket that will have different shape or size according to the type or processor. So then they kind of have a location to reside on the motherboard. So the motherboard, the same thing. Let's look at, you do some research. You can just Google that. So now I have that. You can just Google i5 motherboard. So that's why they will show you so different kind. Yeah, you guys actually know much better than me because actually I don't like to make the computer. But we just see one example. So that's one kind of motherboard. So that motherboard is earlier we show you have many different things we will have. So this one you see that's a ASUS example. So then you can see here, actually this one is usually you see the square one will be the CPU. The CPU socket they will put in here. Okay, so that's you see CPU just on top of the motherboard. So on motherboard, of course, we have more things. So we see here, they maybe have external cache memory slot. They have the main memory slot. So the cache memory slot, yeah, actually we possibly not really see where they are. Okay, but then here we know this location. On those locations, you see here, the 4 line here, that's resides for the RAM we will install into that. So then here, maybe the cache memory is on black here, the black star here. Then we have the BIOS. So that's the basic input-output system. So then your computer chips and holding the system software. Then you have some external device that's a sound system. You have video control chips. You can have some parallel or serial USB video port, keyboard port. So different kind of networking or mouse connector. So then you have some PCI bus connector. So this one in the textbook we show you, actually this one they print out everything to show you on but this one actually pretty old style. That's I believe that's actually right. See, that's Pentium 4. I think that's even like my 2000 before 2000 computer. So that's your CPU. Okay, so then you have memory control hub here. Then earlier we say usually in the edge, you see you have some port to connect to other device. That's what we call that's a mouse or a keyboard connector. So then you see this, you see they say that's PCI slot. But those slots actually you will put your RAM on top of here. Then you have I/O controller. Yeah, this one if you don't identify, it's not really very easy to see. You see, I even don't know here it will be the speaker. Okay, so you have some power connector. Oh, sorry, this one actually is the PCI slot. Sorry, this here is the RAM. Your RAM actually longer, so that will reside here. So you can use in this picture. If your computer cannot open up, or your computer can open up, I know many of you build out your own computer. So during the lab exercise 3, I want you guys to, if you can open up your computer, share your screen and your camera to show your other teammate if they cannot open up their computer. Or you can see, you can just Google that. You see here, that's earlier we see those things just external connector to the monitor or the network or your mouse or your keyboard. Okay, so earlier we say this one, yeah, so here is your CPU. So I believe, yeah, that longer one still is RAM. But the PCI slot, I didn't see really a lot here. Okay, so later you see earlier we see also the black dot. You can compare it to the picture here. So then we call they maybe the hub or yeah some other stuff. Yeah, memory control hub. I'm not really sure. So if you guys can identify those things, that will be very good. But that's we call you this section. You just need to know CPU actually just resides small here. They are actually on the motherboard. Motherboard using to connect to all the hardware stuff. So that's why we call the motherboard is a chipset. It's a collection of processor chip designed to work together on the specific type of motherboard. So you have different kind of chipset has feature that increase the processing the power, your multimedia capability. I know many of you like to play game, so that's why I know you guys have very good resolution and high-speed video card, or they will reduce your power consumption. Yeah, so this one actually just show you the chipset, but then just kind of have the link and the note we have shown you earlier in the on the motherboard picture. The next one, actually, the hardware I want you to identify is your video. Yeah, actually, I don't use video videos. Yeah. Anyway, here actually now I only have the laptop, so I don't have the desktop to see the video output, and I don't really using the high resolution video. Like I said, you guys play computer game a lot, so I know you guys may have a better high speed video. So I want you to show your teammates what your video control. Okay, so of course they have different video memory and the resolution. So then this one, right, also is kind of, I think, very old, the video card. So then you will see here, you see they either can have it connected to cable or the S video or the monitor. Or you can see here, actually we kind of really don't have the VGA connector anymore, and we have the HDMI. So that's why you can find maybe the same thing. Like for me, I don't know so much about the hardware for video, right? So I just search the video controller. Yeah, you see, you search video card controller. So definitely you will see a much better style or a new style. So that's why that's how we can know. But yeah, the same thing, I really don't play computer again. So yeah, that's a little slow. That's waiting to load the picture. That's how they look like. Yeah, if you cannot find from your computer, maybe we just do the search from internet and got some example. Yeah, also we have the memory is important. We have dynamic RAM, we have static RAM, even we have video RAM. So one thing is I want you to identify where is your dynamic RAM on your motherboard, on how you will insert that. Or from your computer software, can you identify what is size from your hardware? Yeah, then you have one special RAM we call CMOS RAM. So the CMOS RAM actually is from the hardware system set up before you get into your operating system. So that's why usually the CMOS, if you open that, they will look like this. Actually, I don't use this one much. Now I totally don't use that. Because before when we use the CMOS is we want to manually partition our computer. I have the Windows. Before we have Windows maybe 2000. Or we want to have XP separately. So we use this to partition. But now here, even we try to install Windows on the Mac system. We no longer need to use this because we have the cloud service. We even can have the virtual machine. But that's the CMOS, how they look like. So in addition to that, so this section, I just want you to read by yourself because that's just the hardware. So make sure you can understand what is the USB input because we have a lot of input-output port. What is USB port? What is parallel port? What is the serial port? Or you have different device connected. So then that will identify from your hardware.